every Christian needs to have a very good understanding of judging others. Is it okay to judge others? What are the best practices? Let's see. Judging others is probably the most funniest part of our spiritual life. I often think that when heaven's gates are opened, I'll be the first person entering in. Now, Jesus makes a very, very beautiful statement. He says that when you have a huge chunk in your own eye, how can you call your friend and say that you have a dust in your eye? What Jesus is saying that we should not be hypocrites. While we ourselves commit mistakes from our end, we should not be pointing out mistakes in others' life. Now let's see a few basics about judging others. The first thing is that what is judging? Now when our mind sees other people's behavior, it comes up with lots of questions about their behavior, and it tries to answer those questions by putting ratings. Sometimes that ratings becomes negative. So is it okay to judge others? This is a very, very natural behavior that is happening in our mind. There is nothing we can do about it. The second thing is we have to understand very, very importantly is that when we have to do something, if we are going to do something, the first thing we have to do is we have to convince our own mind that what we are going to do is correct. Without that, we can't do anything. So either we'll assume that what we are going to do is correct, or even if we think that what we are going to do is correct, we will come up with some justification. So already in our mind, we always feel that whatever we have done and what we are going to do is all correct or justified. That is why it is very, very difficult to identify the mistakes in our end. So is it okay to judge others? As I said, that's an internal mechanism, so perfectly fine. But we have to be very, very careful that our judgment doesn't impact ourselves negatively and others negatively. So first thing is that we have to ensure that our negative judgment doesn't impact ourselves negatively. If I'm going to play a tennis match, if I think that my opponent is too strong, there itself everything is finished, because I will then be focusing completely on my opponent's actions rather than focusing on my own part. Now often we consider people as, when we can't handle people, we often consider them as huge villains, hugely smart. We think too much about them. So what happens is that our faith comes down. We need to understand that whatever good thing that we are going to receive has to come from above. So when we give too much importance to others, we think of them as big villains, then we won't be focusing on our dear Lord and our faith, and we won't be able to give our best to the situation. So this is important. The second most important thing is we should ensure that our negative judgment doesn't impact others negatively. As we saw that while we may be perfect in that particular scenario where we are judging others, there may be 100 other scenarios where we will be committing mistakes and we may not be able to know. So it's always important that our negative judgments ensure that we should not be negatively expressing it, whether talking about someone behind their back or confronting them and expressing our anger. As much as possible, we should not express our negative judgments and negatively. If we can love ourselves, who is a imperfect person, shouldn't we be loving others too? That is what Jesus is saying. So we should never consider any person as an enemy. No Christian should consider others as enemy as much as possible. Many times it will come up to our throat to express negative things because of our negative judgment. But we must be as gentle as possible. Thank you.